3, 2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and welcome to the path to the Vladivostok. So, as always guys, this first episode going to be a little bit longer because we're going to go over a couple different builds, but shouldn't be too bad for the Russians because there really isn't that many builds for them. I'll go over the build that I prefer, and then I'll also go over the other build. So, with that being said, first video gonna be the Tier 3 Gangut. So, let's look at our commander. We are running Lev Galler with Andrew Cunningham and Azure Lane Scharnhorst. We have Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits. We are running the Collective Labor for that extra damage control charge. And we are running Reaching Out XXL with Will to Rebuild as our legendary perk. Okay. What other commanders are there? Well, honestly, I don't use a whole lot of them, but I think it's Gurin is... No, it's not Gurin. Trubetskoy? Nope. It's definitely not them. Kadyrov, that's the one. Okay, so Mikhail Kadyrov, I apologize to the Russians out there, is your tank build commander. Okay, so once again, we're running Mikhail Kadyrov with Andrew Cunningham. For some reason, I have Robert Jujard on here, but you don't need the extra penetration for the Russian battleships. You would probably need Azure Lane Scharnhorst. But that kind of just shows how far back it's been since I've played this line all the way through. When I did use this, I don't think Azure Lane Scharnhorst existed back then. So it was one of those things where you just add something extra, I guess. Of course, Von Essen would probably be a good one for the Russian battleships rather than this for better penetration angles. But honestly, I don't think you need them. They've got pretty good armor-piercing shells. So we're running the not one for the nuisance perk because I don't like running Brawler. Brawler limits your range too much and just screws you over. I don't like it. Okay, then we're running Crisscross for the increased turret traverse rather than secondaries. And then we are running Collective Labor once again, and we have the Master Mechanic. Of course, I'm not level 16, so I only get one extra repair charge rather than two, and then Will to Rebuild. But yeah, rather than Jujard, maybe I would run either Von Essen, Pala de Revel for faster reload. Scharnhorst obviously would be my first choice because you want extra dispersion. Russian battleships are not the most accurate at range. For me, it's always been kind of get up close and personal with them. They're pretty tanky until you over-angle. But you have to be severely over-angled. I haven't had too many issues being citadeled unless I'm giving a blatant broadside to somebody. The biggest issue that I have with them is the fact that they have the limited damage control charges, which no other battleship line has. So keep that in mind when you're going to go up this line. They are very tanky ships. They've got good guns. It's just that the limited damage controls in a meta that is proliferated by torpedoes and fires is rough. 100%. And then carriers, we don't even want to get into carriers with Russian battleships. Russian battleships and German battleships versus carriers, not a good time. Let's just be real. So, yeah. So that's the two builds that I would use on this. Obviously, there's a couple others, but these guys aren't battleship captains. These are destroyer captains, so not too worried about that. Like I said, there's really only those two main builds. There's the dispersion build, and then there's the tank build, and that's pretty much it. Let's look at the ship. We're running Aiming Systems Mod 1 for obvious reasons. We are fully upgraded. And you can see that with this build, we get 4 damage controls. You have to use these damage controls wisely. This is why I do not recommend this line for beginners. You need to know how to manage your damage controls, when and when not to use it, because you only get 4, and then you're screwed. Okay? You get 2 repair parties, pretty usual there. It's actually lower than other nations, I believe. Because they usually get 3. So I think this is a bigger heal. I can't remember exactly. I'm not a big numbers guy, you guys know this. But we are running the community contributor flag and type 2 camo for that dispersion debuff coming in when everybody shoots at us. Stats, survivability, we got 40,500 hit points with only a 9% torpedo damage reduction. Artillery, you get 305mm 52 caliber model 1907s. You get 12 of those. 14.6 kilometer range with 36-second reload and a 38.3 180-degree turn time. So the turrets turn relatively decent. The reload time is horrendous. The firing range is not good. It's just, like I said, you get a lot of guns, so they have to take away stats in other areas, right? So that's why the longer reload. That's why we get the, the no torpedo protection, basically. HE shell damage of 4,680 with a 33% chance to set fire. AP shell maximum damage of 9,460. Secondary armaments, you get 120mm 50 caliber model 1905s. You get 16 of those that reach out to 3.7 kilometers and reload in 8.6 seconds. They fire HE with a maximum damage of 1,700 and an 8% chance of setting fires. AA defense, like I said, basically non-existent. Pretty sure if you stood on the deck with a rifle, you'd probably have better AA than this thing. 7.62, speaking of which, 7.62 Maxim machine gun. You get 4 of those that do 7 damage per second or reach out to 1 kilometer. Then you get the 75mm Canet naval guns that you have 8 of that reach out to 3 kilometers and do 15 damage per second. Maneuverability. A maximum speed of 20.7 knots, a turning circle of 660 meters, which is fantastic, a rudder shift time of 10.2 seconds, which is also fantastic. So here's where you start to see some of the benefits of these Russian battleships. You've got decent speed, it's faster than the American dreadnoughts, faster than most other dreadnoughts, with the exception of the Ishizuki, which is a battlecruiser. So it makes sense, right? It has a fantastic turning circle, and as does most dreadnoughts. And then the rudder shift time is even better. It's 10.2 seconds. That is fantastic. Okay? For a battleship. I mean, usually you're in the, for a good battleship, generally 12-second range. But for average is like 14. And then for really bad, you're looking at 15, 16-second rudder shifts. So having a 10.2-second rudder shift without the ability to add equipment to buff your rudder, this is fantastic. Concealment. 12-kilometer surface detectability, which is very good for a battleship. 9.6-kilometer detectability by air. 2-kilometer guaranteed. And 9.2-kilometer detectability while firing in smoke. Armor. This is where the battleships for the Russians really come into their own. They have some of the best armor in the game, period. It isn't even a question. So you've got a 75mm belt. And it does go all the way to the bow, so you don't have to worry about being overmatched. And unlike a lot of the belts that are this thick of armor, it's actually quite a bit above the waterline. So there's very little at the front of this ship that can be touched by really anything. And then on top of that, you got 75mm upper plating. So you don't have to worry about anything punching through the bow. And I mean literally anything. Yami can't punch the bow of this ship. It just can't. So keep that in mind. However, that doesn't mean you're immune. Now, here's the other good thing about the Russians. So you're basically immune to being overmatched through the front, which is something most battleships don't get until Tier 7, really. Until they fight a Yami. But look at the superstructure on this thing. Superstructure is very, very small. Meaning you don't have a whole lot of hit points allocated to it. Meaning you can't be really farmed for damage through the superstructure. So you don't have to worry about like the Americans and Germans, okay? Now notice at the back you have pretty thin armor back here. So keep that in mind. If you're kiting away, it could result in some problems. But as long as you're bow tanking and angling, you got nothing to worry about from armor piercing. High explosive is your most deadly thing, and of course torpedoes, but as long as you're paying attention to the torps, you'll be fine. Now, if we get rid of that armor, we can start to showcase why a lot of people struggle in the Russian battleships. And that is this raised citadel, okay? This gets a lot of people killed in a Russian battleship because they see these 12 guns and they're like, I must always fire all of my guns every time. And so they go broadside to people. And when you go broadside in a Russian battleship, you die. Generally in one salvo. Like, this is guaranteed multiple citadels every time you over-angle and go give too much side. And like I said, you have to really over-angle. Because even at, like, decent angles like this, like, you're not getting pinned very easily. You'll shatter and bounce a lot of rounds off of the armor of this ship. But if you over-angle, if somebody catches you with your pants down, you will die. Quickly and in a hurry. So keep that in mind. Alright. Superior AP penetration. This goes back to why I said you don't need Robert-Giard. They've got plenty of penetration. They've got really good muzzle velocities on these ships. So you've got all the penetration you need. It's more along the lines of the penetration angles that will let you down occasionally. But even then, in their battleships, it's not really that big a deal. Ironclad, above average armor thickness, which we already talked about. Greater resistance to all forms of armor penetration. On-demand repairs. Damage control party reloads faster, but has limited charges. So there's the explanation for those who were wondering why the Russians suddenly get limited damage con. It's because their damage con comes back in 30 seconds rather than making you wait the minute and a half that it takes for normal battleships. So keep that in mind. So it does come in real handy, okay? And you don't always end up using all 4 charges. Single fires you can let burn and use your heal to help heal that back. Use your damage control sparingly. It takes practice because I'll be honest, as somebody who's played all the other lines and I came into this the first time I played through this line, it killed me to have the limited number of damage cons. But the better I got at the game, the more I got into running these ships, and they are fun to run. Don't get me wrong, especially low-tier Russian battleships are a lot of fun. The Sinop and the Vladdy are a bit less fun, and I'll tell you why when we get to those. But for the low tiers, these ships are incredibly fun. Gangut, part of the first series of dreadnought battleships built in Russia, she was armed with 12 main battery guns. The ship's features included a significant area of side armor and a general layout providing a full starboard salvo, a full sideboard salvo at the widest possible angles. She entered service in 1914, and there were 4 of them in the series. So, let's get this straight. This is a Russian ship that actually existed. Holy crap. But no, for real. They did mention something that I forgot. These actually have pretty decent firing arcs. You can be really, really well angled and still get 3 of these 4 guns to fire at the target. It's fantastic. It really is. I do enjoy these low-tier Russian battleships. For looks, they're not really lookers. They kind of look like a barge with guns mounted to them. And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a BB, right? A battle barge. That's what they are. But, yeah, not the best looking ships in the world. But you know I love casemates, and this has got plenty of casemates on the side. But, yeah, I mean, it's a really minimalist design and practical. Just big guns, all the guns, and all the armor. What more could you ask for? So, with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Estuary, which you guys should know by now is my favorite map in this game. But I've got an absolute unit of a game for you guys today. So, hopefully you guys are ready. This one's going to be spicy. So, let's get into it. Now, obviously, I spawned in the north. I spawned on the far left flank, which is a flank that I don't get to push very often. Generally speaking, I spawn either in the middle or on the far right side, if you're looking at the map, like the other side of us, our right side from it just being in the game. That's where I usually spawn. So for me to spawn over here is just a treat because this side is so easy to play. I don't know why so many people, like from the other side of D here, that is kind of difficult to play because there's not a whole lot of cover to take advantage of pushing. You just kind of come out from behind the island and suddenly you've got everybody shooting at you from everywhere on the map, which is why I say that that side's actually at a disadvantage. This side, however, is at an advantage, and I am going to take full advantage of that. Now, one thing that I will say right off the bat, my teammates on this side are going to get the enemy's attention, and that's going to be paramount for this push that I'm about to make, because they are not going to be ready for me. Let's just I'm going to make that real clear. The enemy is not going to be ready for me. So right there you can see we get a really good 9,000 damage hit on the New York with plunging fire into the deck. So you gotta love that. But we're gonna leave, we're gonna go behind the island. I know that this is a long push. And again, if it wasn't for my teammates holding these guys while I make this push, this wouldn't work as well as it did. But when you have people here, and you can see there's a cruiser and looks like a second cruiser coming over from mid, or maybe a battleship, I can't really tell. Then there's the battleship that spawned here, and a cruiser going straight ahead, which the cruiser that's going straight ahead is just going to suicide himself. He's not going to end up doing very well here. It's not a position you want to put yourself in, charging straight at multiple battleships in a cruiser. It doesn't end well, as he's the first person killed. Go figure. But Karlsruhe is about to find out, and that's without a citadel, by the way. That was 7 hits, 3 penetrations, 4 overpins. The man lives. I hit a little too far forward to get the citadel, unfortunately. But knowing that Karlsruhe is going to be an issue for me as far as torpedoes, I want to get him out of here as quickly as possible. So we just want to get rid of him. He's also firing armor piercing at my Russian battleship out of his little tiny cruiser, which is hilarious. And I appreciate it. So keep shooting your armor piercing at my heavily armored battleship and wait for it. What? Okay, now the game's just being mean. That should have been a kill. Let's be real. But he gets away for now. I don't know why he's still shooting AP at me. He's done 0 damage to me so far with his armor piercing, and he has lost all of his hit points. So you'd think he would switch to HE and start potentially doing some damage, but, you know, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. If the man wants to shoot AP at me and run away from me instead of coming at me to torp me, I'll take it, you know. And with him going away, that's pretty accurate. That's death. And this is where I start paying attention to the enemy battleships, who have been completely tunnel visioned on their targets while I was tunnel visioned on my target. And they are presenting me with about the best possible opportunity. Now remember, we are down tiered. This is a New York, a tier 4 American dreadnought that is very, very good. I want him gone quickly. But then the Wyoming comes out and makes himself like just absolutely the target to hit. So might as well try to take him. I know that I can go through both of these guys pretty easily. Because they're not playing very well. And we hit the Wyoming for half his hit points. And that wasn't even a freaking citadel. That was 8 full penetrations. That's why I love these low-tier battleships from the Russians, man. The premiums, the tech trees, they're all good at low tier. So we get set on fire there, which means that I am not afraid of these guys at all. The New York has very little health, has opened up the angle, and I am 5 seconds away from removing him from existence. Wait for it. And shot out. And he's gone. 7 full penetrations. This is what I'm talking about when I say get up close and personal with these Russian battleships, especially early on. Later it gets a little trickier. But early on, at Tier 3, Tier 4, even Tier 5, these ships are absolutely devastating. And they're dang near unstoppable, with the exception of HE and torpedoes. And of course the carriers. Carriers just tear these things up. But Wyoming, I mean, we hit you for half your health the first time we hit him. And there's the Citadel, of course. Omaha has made himself available, as well as a Kaiser. And we've already got 3 kills. Might as well just chalk it up. Can we get a Kraken? Like, let's just do it, right? We have single-handedly killed 3 people. Now, the New York was softened up by the friendlies in the back. But it doesn't matter. We would have killed him regardless. We just have more damage right now if we had to do it all. But Kaiser is going to open himself now. I'm not extremely worried about the Omaha as long as he keeps his distance. So I'm going to get rid of the bigger guns first. And Kaiser opens up. And look at this dispersion, guys. Another 16,000 damage salvo. 5 penetrations, 2 overpins, and a ricochet. Like, come on. And then he just shatters off of us. He can't do anything to us. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I think the only real damage that we have taken has been from just HE and fire. Like, I don't think we've actually taken much in the way of damage. We're about to get our heal back, so we'll be able to do that. Now, this Kaiser actually catches me here, and had he actually aimed his ships, like guns, to the center of my ship, he's a dead, or I could die here. But, because he aims too far forward, he completely whiffs. Now, I didn't get the rear gun off at the Kaiser, unfortunately. But fortunately for me, the Omaha is coming in to try to torp me, and I do have the rear gun available. So I get the shot, and look at the dispersion. 1 outlier and 2 of them dead center of where I aimed. And down he goes. Now we're turning back in, and once again we're talking about this amazing turning ability of these ships. You turn back in, get your armor angled, take the shot on the guy as he comes around the corner, hoping to catch him before he gets a shot off, and we do manage to take him out, and that's our Kraken Unleashed, and 105,000 damage, and we are, what, 6 minutes into the match? 7 minutes into the match? Like, we have absolutely run over this enemy team. Completely. We lost half our hit points doing so, but losing half your hit points and taking out 3 battleships and 2 cruisers ain't bad. Now, it's at this point that I get into chat and I'm like, guys, you guys want to kind of push up a little bit with me? I could use a little help. Because I have no intentions of stopping. I'm not slowing down either. What I didn't realize was that, you know, they're battleships as well as I am, and I'm faster than them. So I just outrun them. So regardless of whether I wanted them to catch up or not, they're not capable of catching up as long as I'm going full throttle. And I'm not going to lie. I had the aspiration in my head that I was going to get aspiration. Is it aspiration? High aspirations. I think that's the right word. Anyway, I had high hopes of getting up in here, killing this cruiser, going after the battleship and killing that battleship, killing the cruiser. I was going to feel real good about myself. I was like, man, I got an easy 7-8 kill game right here if I can just get up in here. And so that's the goal. I'm trying to get close, and you can see I'm watching this carrier farm this AFK Karlsruhe. This guy is not playing, and the carrier is going after him rather than going after the other guy. So I can understand, but at the same time, like, I can, like, say, carrier, you see your battleships are coming around. That's an easy kill. The guy's not going to be going anywhere. Maybe focus your attention to somebody who's actually playing. But at the same time, I can't really fault him for trying to get rid of the guy and getting easy damage. So, is what it is. Not going to lie, I was hoping to get in range to yoink this, but the limited range of these Russian battleships is one of the downfalls. It takes forever to get into range. And if you take the Brawler perk, it's even worse. So that's why I say don't ever take the Brawler perk. The Brawler perk is a gigantic waste of everybody's time because it just makes you useless outside of, like, medium range. Anything outside medium range, you're useless with the Brawler perk. So don't ever use Brawler, ever. It's just bad. But then I see the Nevada up here. I'm like, good. This will be an easy kill. I'll be able to take him out quickly and move on and go after the cruiser, and everything's going to be right with the world, right? Wrong. The battleship is actually going to be surprisingly hard to get rid of. I think it takes me 3 or 4 salvos to finish this guy, when it should have just been 1. I'm like, okay, I'll shoot at his superstructure. As soon as I pull the trigger, he disappears. So I'm like, well, hopefully that one will hit him, and we'll be able to knock him out of the game. And we do hit him, but we don't knock him out of the game. He stays alive, which is real unfortunate. So then I fire the rear gun at him, and I'm like, okay, that should finish him. 2 shells pretty much hugging each other, going straight for his superstructure, potential deck, and... Really? They fall short. I can't argue with the dispersion. The dispersion I had in this game was disgusting. So I can't say anything about it. But really? And you can see he is healing back. He did take another hit there. And this is where the carrier starts absolutely ripping me apart. We take another shot at the Nevada, which should have once again been a kill shot. But once again, just refuses to hit the man and finish him. And so I'm getting a little flustered at this point. I'm having to try to dodge the carrier. I know the carrier's coming in for another attack run, but I can't sit broadside to a Nevada either. Nevada, remember, Nevada and Oklahoma have Texas and Arizona guns. Can't go broadside to him. And so I'm forced to end up taking these freaking torpedoes from this carrier, and there's nothing I can do about it. Luckily, I get another shot off. Surely this one will finish him as I aim for the superstructure, and surely it does. And here we finally get a decent spread on the torpedoes that I can easily dodge. But I only have 8,000 hit points left. And I've got 2 heals, so there's that. But when you've got a carrier that's real close by, completely invisible, you've got a Marblehead out here. Again, a Marblehead is a Tier 4 Omaha, except it's also got long-range torpedoes. So I was pretty confident that this guy was dead in this moment. But unfortunately for me, I didn't aim far enough ahead, and we only get a couple penetrations and take about half his hit points. And between his HE spam and the torpedo bombers that just keep absolutely harassing me, you can see I split those 2 torpedoes. Again, trying to keep track of everybody when you're being shot at by one guy and you're being torped by a carrier is a bit of a pain in the neck, right? So I figure I got a good chance of finishing this Marblehead off. He looks like he's about to start turning out. Our carrier's working on him. Just got a good torp run on him. We take a shot and none of our shells hit him. He turned out a lot harder than I was expecting because of that carrier's torpedoes. And unfortunately, the enemy carrier was able to finish us off. And not a whole lot I could do about it. But we're in no danger of losing this. We had a very, very good game. 6 kills, 115,000 damage, only 2 citadels, high caliber, Kraken unleashed. You can't really argue with the production, right? Even though I died, it just goes to show you how weak they are against carrier. That carrier harassed me for, what, half the match there at the end? And we shot down a single plane. Just let that register. So, if you're going to run these and you end up in an AA game or a game with a carrier, you're going to have a bad time. But if the carrier focuses you. But other than that, like, it is so much fun to play these low-tier Russian battleships. Like, they are just absolutely juicy. If you know what you're doing and you know how to angle and all of that and wait for the enemy to fire at you and then swing out to get your full broadside, like, it is literally one of the most fun lines to run at low tiers. They're that much fun. They really are. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are ready for the rest of the path to the Vladdy. This is literally the only Russian line that I didn't actually hate. Okay, it was a little rough getting started on this line, like I said, with the limited damage controls. It's hard to get out of the habit of spamming the damage control. You have to use them wisely. You do not want to be in a late game situation against multiple cruisers and be out of damage controls completely. It just doesn't end well for you. But yeah, these things are a lot of fun. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it as well. If you haven't played these Russian battleships, give them a shot, man. Give them a shot. It's really, really, really fun. And I can't stress that enough. Like, in a game where you know, I am a super sweaty tryhard. You guys know this. I can't help it. I get super competitive. I can't help it. In a game where it's kind of dominated by frustration a lot of times, it can be fun to just get in a ship that just does not care and absolutely wrecks things. And that's what these Russian low-tier battleships are. And like I said, even the premiums, the October Revolution, the Emperor Nikolai, the Peter Veliki, the Gangut, and what's the third one? God, I can't think of the tier 5. Ishmael. They're all fantastic ships, and they're fun to play, man. So, where are we at? 115,000 damage, high caliber, Kraken Unleashed, 6 kills, top of the leaderboard, 1,800 base XP. And we got that Kraken and 100,000 damage in like 7 minutes. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.